Welcome to an episode of Crippled by Culture, where we talk about everything in life and relate it to the disabled and chronically ill community. My name is Sean Gold, and I'm an author, advocate, and nonverbal public speaker for the disabled community. To give a quick visual description for accessibility, I'm a Black man with a white tracheostomy breathing tube in my neck. I am wearing a gray shirt. The person off camera who is speaking for me is Josh Rettig. He is my voice transcriber. This video is of a Zoom call with me, the transcriber, and my guest in the other box next to it. Before we jump in, I just want to give a quick shout out to Josh Rettig for being my voice transcriber for this episode. Thank you so much. No problem, always happy to do it. Today we're talking about the intersections of disability, congenital heart disease, and HIV/AIDS. And I'm very excited for this one. So let's get into it and meet today's awesome guests. D-REK Canas, aka D-REK. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Yep. Born a sweet, cute, seemingly healthy baby, had everything going for him until the age of about 3 months, when he was surrounded by many doctors talking about transposition of the great arteries, pacemakers, and blood transfusions. His parents now had what they called a battery-operated son. This was a scary scenario for his parents, with so many touch-and-go moments. 16 years later, another illness that D-REK has been living with started to show symptoms, HIV. This only brought on a more terrifying roller coaster ride. With courage, unconditional love, and sheer determination, D-REK was not going to let any one of these health issues get in the way of his dream of becoming a DJ. Spinning music is the passion of his soul. Today, taking his fight against HIV to new hope, he can be found on WEGO Health as a patient leader, a supervisor of both open heart surgery and HIV. His doctors refer to him as the Terminator, and he certainly is. He's also the creator of the #EndTheStigma campaign and D-REK's Angels and Warriors. On the weekends, he turns into the crazy DJ living his dreams. D-REK, thank you for being here today. How
Thank
are
you
you
for
doing?
having me.
Oh, yeah, great to have you. How are you doing? And would you mind giving a visual description of yourself?
I am doing pretty well today. Been very, very busy. We're getting ready to launch the new website for Angels and Warriors, so stay on the lookout for that. And visual representation for me, I am about the height and weight of probably a fifth grader. Let's say fifth, sixth grader. I'm 5 foot tall. I weigh about 95 to 100 pounds. 100 pounds is heavy for me. And I'm that smaller framed guy. I'm the picture that was shown in the 90s to instill fear about HIV and AIDS. I'm kind of encapsulated in one of those bodies.
Well, I appreciate the description there. Uh, let's get right into it, I guess. Uh, First, do you identify with having a disability or chronic illness? And if so, do you mind sharing specifically what it is, like giving some details
Do I identify as having chronic illnesses?
or disability, whichever?
Yes. Yes, very much so. Through the cardiac and the HIV, they both are pretty detrimental I mean, one on their own is detrimental. Having
Mm.
both is pretty much it's a war every day with getting up, energy levels, all of that. I have to really conserve my energy for different projects and different things coming up. I have to think at a longer term perspective and how much gas is in the tank, how much time I give myself when I wake up to then eat breakfast and then start going. Because if I just start going, I'm not gonna make it much past 5, 6 o'clock at night. And there's stuff that anybody that works in this realm as an advocate or doing any kind of advocacy knows it's 24/7. The Zooms don't stop. The calls for podcasts, the different things. We're constantly reaching out to each other. It has no 9 to 5. There is no time frame for it. If you want to work, you can work. You can work at 3 a.m. You can work 4 or 5 in the morning. There's somebody up that probably needs your advice. And that's the biggest thing is I've learned now being 40, because 40 just like snuck up on me. And last time I turned around, I was like 23. I was in a club having fun. I don't know where this 40-year-old guy came from that wants to be in bed by 9:45. But and like aging and just with the chronic health issues, I'm really seeing it as I've gotten old, how much the chronic health really weighs on me. I've got arthritis in my hands. I've got neuropathy in my feet. I'm seeing different issues are starting to compound a little bit more. Things that I didn't really notice when I was younger are starting to just, I don't know, they're starting to be a little more prevalent and not in the good way.
Like, what are some of the day-to-day things that your disability or uh, condition affects?
And well, my heart would be the one that is going to affect me the most day to day
Mm.
because of the pacemaker and the actual congenital defect I had. I needed a baffle placement put in. Well, about 10 years ago, they were doing a cardiac ablation on me and they had to punch through that baffle to get to from the right side of my heart to the left side. When they did that, they didn't anticipate that it would create a little backfill. And so I'm currently waiting to be scheduled right now to have that corrected. So I've been having issues with low energy and my heart's not pumping with as much force as I really need it to. So I'm probably looking at a new pacemaker, probably defibrillator pacemaker soon. And the cardiac stuff is more the day-to-day impact. I will the HIV impact and the AIDS impact comes into play with my energy levels and my ability to just get through a day because it wears on you in different ways. HIV just kind of gives you not a lot of strength. It kind of just, it's like an anchor. It's just like dragging an anchor with you every day. And so you just, it wears on you and it wears you down. And I notice it as I've gotten older that I can't do 4 or 5 of these in a day. I used to be able to do them. I mean, that's what it took was having to be on the computer and locked in like that. But now, no, I pick and choose and I go where I feel I will be most useful. And I conserve my energy as best I can because I've got a lot of big projects coming up.
Do you feel like there are other things going on that maybe haven't been diagnosed?
Uh, Possibly. because I am such a medical nightmare, headache, however you want to describe that, I fit that very well. I I was misdiagnosed for 16 years. They missed the HIV for 16 years. I contracted that virus from a blood transfusion when I was 3 months old while I was undergoing that heart surgery, and the repair and the recovery that took another 3 months. I had 15 cut blood transfusions, and we don't know exactly how many blood transfusions could have been tainted blood, but either way, and that is how I contracted the virus, and I survived 16 years undiagnosed. So the impact of that is very severe, and I am slowly tracking down the issues from that. I'm constantly like, I don't smoke, I don't drink. I drink occasionally, like vacation, birthday, that kind of thing, but nothing nothing off the wall, nothing wild with me. And it's mostly to protect my liver because just the meds for the HIV are so detrimental to the liver and kidneys. I can't afford to do anything that would put any of that at further risk.
Uh, has it ever been difficult to like accept these different medical conditions, and like how has it been coming to accept those things?
Oh, it was very difficult. The HIV diagnosis was extremely, extremely difficult because it was 16 years in the making. Constantly staying on top of doctors asking, family always asked, why is he so small? I was the smallest kid in class every year. So it wasn't that, I just missed one growth spurt and then everything was all right. It was, no, he's constantly the smallest kid. What's up with that? Doctors continued to route it back to it's his heart. It's his heart. And it wasn't until I had had my third pacemaker replaced and I couldn't make my way back to school because I had this chronic cough that I went to see a pulmonologist. And when I went to see the pulmonologist, he asked me what my medical issues were. I told him about my heart. And he was the first person that told me your heart does not have anything to do with your height, weight, what's actually going on here. And I didn't know. I didn't have an answer. And for, want to say, a little over a year, he spent trying to track it down. And he did every test he could do. Everything came back fine for him. And he sent me to go start on human growth hormone, the injections that the athletes got busted for about 15 years ago, 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
I took the same stuff and I can report that it very much works because I gained 50 pounds and about a foot in height in about 17, 18 months.
Wow, that's
So and my height and weight now is only because of that one moment. But that one moment of getting that medication and starting with that doctor started me on a path that I did not know at the time. My doctor was taking my medical records into classes and giving it to medical students, and they blot out, your name, any personal information. They just show, you have this patient. What do you do? One girl in the class stood up and said, I saw that he had blood in 85, but there's no record of an HIV test. And they came in, they asked me to submit, and it took 2 weeks. This is back in 2001. Now these results are in 20 minutes. So Don't nobody fear. If you are thinking about getting tested for HIV, there is no 2 week waiting. It is pretty much instant now. They get your results very, very fast. But 2 weeks later, I went back and I got the news. And I started on a 22 pill a day regimen. I was taking meds from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed. There were 4 different scheduled times: 7, 11, 3, and 11.
Wow, it's quite a bit.
And it was a lot, and it was over 4.5 years of that. So that's another reason. Like I'm impressed that my liver and kidneys are still hanging in there with me. Because even 20 years ago, those meds were very rough. Even today, the meds are very rough on the liver and kidneys.
That's quite an interesting story there. I can only imagine the emotional toll of all of that.
Yeah, the emotional toll is it's one of those things that doesn't get talked about a lot. People don't correlate HIV and mental state and emotional state, and that is one thing that I'm trying to get out there a little bit more is the mental toll it does take on you. It wears you out physically, mentally, emotionally. It is a gambit of just, I've always, when I talk about HIV, it's, you got to think of it like a little pickaxe that's just constantly jumping all over your body. And it chisels a couple minutes here and then jumps somewhere else. And I'm all throughout the day. If anybody's around me, they'll see me. I'll grab my shoulders or I'll crack my neck or I'll kind of stretch my leg out. It's because that little axe pick is going around just beating on me every day. And it doesn't stop, it doesn't take a break.
So, like, your next question, is there anything you've learned from like the disabled or HIV community that sticks with you day to day?
That people are stronger than they want to believe. Nobody gives themselves credit for what we can actually do. And the sad thing is you don't know what you can do until you're put to the test. So I've always had to look at my life as it's a test. It's a fight. I'm in round 40.
Is there anything you wish more people understood when it comes to invisible or internal disabilities like heart conditions or HIV?
And that we're people that live with chronic medical conditions outwork, outpace, outthink, can outdo every other person on the planet. We do it every day, and we do it in silence for the most part. You don't see us, you don't hear us, we don't complain about it, we just go. We know there is no grab a bottle of ibuprofen, take it, and feel better in an hour. So we just have to learn to go. We have to learn to move when we don't feel well. We have to push through. And we push through every single day.
Well, I gotta say that's very, very impressive to be honest. Very impressive. Uh, is there like how do you combat any misconceptions around things like heart conditions like the one you have?
I am like a really bad person to ask that question to because I love theme parks. But if you go to a theme park, there's always a big sign that says, please don't ride if you have a heart condition.
Mm.
I have ridden some of the most intense roller coasters on the East Coast of the US. Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure in Orlando is a great roller coaster. If you like roller coasters, it is awesome. It is one of my favorite roller coasters. And my cardiologist knows that I go to theme parks and that I ride the rides. They don't have a problem with it. All the work that they've done, like there's not really an issue with riding the rides. Everything's in place and secure. I waited plenty of time before I ever jumped on any of these rides. But yeah, that's my that's my thing is roller coasters. I love roller coasters. But advice for the cardiac, I'm terrible at it. I'm the worst because I push myself so hard. I just did a stress test for my cardiologist. I overperformed everyone my age, plus everyone in their 30s and 20s that had similar congenital heart defects.
Well, I think it's great that you raise awareness about HIV affecting more than just the queer community. It's something that affects any sexual person, regardless of sexuality. How do you teach on this and fight some of the misconceptions?
And well, I started years ago by the stigma campaign. And the stigma has now become D-REK's angels and warriors. We will always carry the in the stigma with us because that's where we started. But now it's angels and warriors, and the way that I combat the issues with it being misconstrued as a gay disease is by speaking up at every opportunity. When I see posts on social media, I always ask, what about the heterosexual male community? Where's their representation? Where are they at? Why are we still listed as other in a lot of data sets? Why are we listed, not listed at all if we are listed? And it's the answers I'm getting are not making me feel good. I'm going to be honest, for it to be 2025, we are still very, very far behind in the knowledge when it comes to HIV and AIDS and what kids know. And the fact that there is so much information out there. We carry phones now that have artificial intelligence. You can talk to your AI and it can lay out line by line every single thing I can lay out line by line. But people don't utilize it. They don't utilize it until it's too late. Nobody has compassion until it's too late. I have always said to people, talk to me before life pushes you in a scenario where I'm the only person you can talk to, where I'm the only one that gets it. I don't want to be that for anybody. So I try to keep them from being that.
You mentioned some of the answers and excuses you hear, like have made you not feel good. Could you give like an example of one of them?
Oh, one of the things that I hear a lot was, well, the heterosexual community didn't show up in the beginning.
Mm.
And we didn't because we weren't the data. There was no data sets. The data sets all said gay men. It was a gay cancer. everything in the media, everything that the government buried, everything, all of our knowledge was written around that idea. And we've never gotten past that. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. Even in media, even in movies, the character with HIV is always going to be gay. You never see a heterosexual character with HIV. If there is one, I would love for people to message me about it and tell me. I would love to watch those shows and see those movies, but I've not seen them.
Have you uh, researched how the disease affects members of the disabled community?
There's limited data on that because I only have, and now my data set's really been cut with the federal regulations now. So my data sets have really been cut. I only see male and female. I don't, there's not a lot of data that breaks down into comorbidities and, how many patients, live. I know a majority of patients with HIV because now the majority is over the age of 50.
Hmm.
So there's comorbidities with a majority of HIV patients in the US and in the world. But with dealing with other medical issues, I do not know. I don't have any data for that.
Earlier you mentioned Angels and Warriors. Uh, could you, what inspired you to start that organization, and what does the name mean to you?
Angels and Warriors was it started as the End the Stigma campaign. The End the Stigma campaign started because I needed a platform to speak up and speak out and get my message across. And it grew from that into an annual toy drive. The toy drive became so big that I had to enlist help from friends and volunteers in the community. I didn't know what to call I wasn't satisfied with just calling my friends and volunteers. I wanted to give them a really cool title. So what's a really cool title? I took my name from DJing and I put Angels and Warriors after it. So they became D-REK's Angels and Warriors. And they speak on my behalf too when I'm not available. They understand the virus better than most in the community. They will have a greater ability to speak on topics that I speak on the regular. They are they're basically a street team for me, and it's a street team that we are currently expanding and building out larger and larger. I actually have a team member right now working on stuff to launch a website tonight at midnight. So be on the lookout for that.
What does your work through Angels and Warriors want to offer that you think was missing in conversations about chronic illness and disability?
And the Angels and Warriors, our main goal is to expand the heterosexual with HIV message and serodiscordant couples. I am engaged to a beautiful woman downstairs that's she's actually working on the website. She is the IT department for the Angels and Warriors Corporation. And yeah, we do a lot of speaking engagements. I have been to the International Conference on Stigma 3 times. The first 2 times I spoke on a panel with all heterosexual men that live with HIV. So the goal is to spread the message of heterosexuals with HIV and bring that across the country. And the odd thing is the further west I'm trying to move this message, the more pushback I'm running into.
Where do you think that, where is that pushback coming from?
And I don't know if it's the area. I don't know if they're ready for the message, if they've also lost a lot of funding. So I don't know if it's funding issues. I don't know where they are, but I am looking to build out Angels and Warriors into a huge thing. And a lot of organizations are currently kind of, they're not turning their back, but they don't want to turn their ear either.
Do you think that there's that people are like connecting some kind of homophobia to it or something?
I think it's a fear of, if the heterosexual with HIV movement was to really get rolling, I think it takes a lot of conference time. I think it shows up in conferences all around the world.
Hmm.
And you can't have something new come in without taking away from something else. So I think there's that animosity there of
So
when
there's
I'm seeing that we
so there's
can't exist in the same space without, somebody losing.
hopefully they can manage to see past that a bit. Uh, so how do you personally define disability, and how has your journey shaped that definition?
My definition of a disability
Yeah.
would be the inability to just enjoy a moment, just be able to like watch a sunset and enjoy it. I've never been able to just sit and like enjoy a sunset and not go, what time is it? I've got to be thinking about meds, or, God, my back's killing me, my knees are killing me, like something's always aching. Like it's disability tears at you
Mm.
on every single level: emotional, physical, mental. And the being able to just breathe, I envy that. People that can just sit and look at a nice scene somewhere, like over the mountains or over the ocean, and just enjoy that moment. I've never really been able to have that. And
Uh,
it's because your body's always preoccupied with so many other things going on at the same time.
a lot of your work involves love, loss, and resilience. How do grief and disability intersect with your advocacy?
What was that again?
I'm sorry, you want me to repeat that?
Yes, please. And then Mike kind of cut out.
Okay, no problem. A lot of your work involves love, loss, and resilience. How do disability and grief intersect with your advocacy?
Well, having a disability is grief, and it's a form of grief that you never fully get over. You find a comfortable place in it, but you never get over it. Whatever the disability is, you don't get to move past the moment you were diagnosed. You don't move past the moment that you started the life with meds or whatever tools you needed to continue living. So the grieving period doesn't stop. And that's one thing that with chronic illness people don't understand enough. And that it's okay to have bad days. I have them all the time. I mean, it's okay to get upset, to crank the music up really loud and just have that moment. Just go shut the door, break down, let it be. Because if you hold on to it, it's like holding on to a knife, and it causes more problems.
Do you think it's harder to express your grief around it, knowing that people might take it the wrong way, or that the reason behind the grief deals with something unrelated to the assumption?
What was that?
Do you think it's harder to express your grief around this stuff, knowing that people might take it the wrong way?
When I was younger, it was it was a lot more difficult for me to express how I was feeling and saying what was actually going on when I was younger. I was ashamed of it. I was afraid to
Mm.
say it. Now that I'm older, I've gotten a little loose lipped and it comes out more. I don't know if it's because I got older or what, but I don't hold back on my opinions anymore. I let people know where I stand and what I intend to do. And if they want to be in my way, then good luck to them. Because, like I said earlier, I will outwork and outpace every single one of them if I have to.
I think that's about all we had here. Or was there anything else you wanted to discuss that we didn't touch on, or any questions for me?
I don't think so. I think we touched on everything.
Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Appreciate all the insights you shared. Before we wrap, if people want to connect with you or support you, where can they find you?
Angelsandwarriors.org. There will be links at the bottom of that website.
Yes, and we'll make sure it's linked in the description below. With
All
that,
right.
I'm Sean Gold. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so that you're notified when new episodes of Crippled by Culture go live. See you next time.